Up guys, in today's video we talk about the grind of CS and improvement from a low level perspective. We yap about mentality, mechanics, much more. So be sure to stick around and watch the entire video, as I'm sure there's something valuable that everyone can take away and we'll have a good time. Alright, enjoy the video. So I didn't start PC gaming until I was 18 and could afford my own PC. Up until then it was PlayStation gaming. I grew up in Australia and my parents had a strict device policy. So PC gaming when I was young was either Minecraft, TF2 or web browser games. I came from Siege, spending around 5k hours in that game across PS4 and PC. Didn't start getting into CS until I was in my early 20s. Something that I don't see talked about often is how much effort it takes to learn an entirely new competitive game in that stage of your life. Balancing life, study, and work is the main factor that slows the learning experience in competitive games, especially Counter-Strike. The topics I'm going to cover in this video are mechanics, game sense, and enjoyment. Hopefully by the end of the video I can shed some light into the less spoken about side of Counter-Strike and my experience learning it. Now mechanics were the easiest part of CS for me to get the hang of quickly. Playing so many hours on Siege allowed me to build those neural pathways quickly so that my hand-eye coordination was good. Counter-strafing was easily learned initially using pre-fire maps and refrag. It really helped me grow my ability to master those fundamentals. The initial boom of improvement got me hooked, and all I wanted to do was play CS. Learning lineups and executes was fun and interesting, but the improvement stagnated as my CS brain was lacking. I always found myself fragging quite heavily in map queue and Premier. Constantly leading the team in kills gave me the idea I was invincible, that my mechanics were insanely good. But as I played more, the quicker I realised that my aim can only go so far, and at higher elos positioning became more important. This brings us to game sense. Now my struggle is the inability to read my opponents. Not utilising my radar to effectively understand the scope of the round meant I was being punished and I died more often. My mechanics were really good, but they didn't have a chance to shine as I would get caught off guard, and quite often I would end up raging because there was no way I was worse than my teammates. But I was. CS is an info game. You don't know where your opponents are. Similarly to Siege, you have to use sound to your advantage to understand where everyone is. In CS, you utilize your radar to understand where your opponents can and can't be. I was lacking a thought process to my actions, so my aim was heavily lent on define my success. But being in your 20s and having sub 700 hours means your aim won't ever carry you to find higher rates of success. So I plateaued. 100 games of Face It later and I'm still level 4. This is where enjoyment comes into play. The change of mentality was needed for further improvement. I simply got upset when things didn't work, then being frustrated at my teammates and questioning why I'm even in the rank that I am. The simple solution for me was to diagnose the issue. Being upset over something I can't control is stupid. So I focused on what I could control. That was my own gameplay. The biggest issue was not understanding timings and accounting for certain outcomes. This meant I was caught out in bad positions and would die stupid and avoidable deaths. Playing for frags because that was my worth was something I told myself. I wanted to be like the insane gunners of CS, just decimate the lobby with my aim. But quite frankly, I'm not that guy. What clicked for me was watching Austin CS's guide to Solo Queue series, where he talks through his thought process for each decision he makes. Reacting solely off his radar and audio info of util and pattern recognition was something that I learnt quite effectively through him. This was my problem, not thinking and defaulting to autopilot, playing off instinct. This made me predictable and meant I was caught out in bad positions. At this stage of learning, I needed a mentality shift. I got comfortable. I wasn't seeking difficult circumstances and I simply was avoiding them. Taking a break from Face It meant I built bad habits. These led me to cementing myself into a worse style of CS. Not mindfully thinking about timings or spacing, almost like I was putting aside the work I'd put in because of my ego. Autopilot worked for me, so I just neglected the parts of CS that provide an advantage. This meant I was falling behind, declining in my ability. Aim was strong, but wasn't being effectively used to its potential. Readjusting is key to improvement, and this was paramount to allow me to enjoy the game more. I'm a competitive person and always have a high standard of myself in everything. Putting all my actions and decisions under a microscope, I'm my biggest critic. Isolating what I can control allows me to focus on what's important, and that's improving, but also enjoying the game that I've spent these amount of hours on. All of these issues in the learning process don't get talked about too often, so I hope my own experience can provide people with some encouragement in their own lives, not just in Counter-Strike. Anyway, that's my rant for today. I hope there was some takeaways from this yap and they can shed some light into the learning process. That's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.